gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Wear Many Hats. As ever, please like, share and follow our page on LinkedIn. If you're enjoying the content that we produce, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music. So please follow the podcast, help us continue to grow it. We've got approximately over 900 followers on LinkedIn now. We want to hit that 1,000. So whatever you can do to help us get there, we'd really appreciate it. I'm your host, Mark Robinson. Good to see you all again. Have you missed me? I'm sure you have. Absolutely great episode today. I'm really pleased to be joined by Oliver Boote, who is the Senior Facilities Manager of Northern Europe and the UK for Macro. How you doing, Oliver? You all right?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Are you having a good day?
I have had a good day.
Yeah?
I have had a good day, yeah. It's been an interesting one. It always is when it rains and hails, because you spend your day worrying about your gutters and your and your roofs and things like that. But no major concerns, and we've got here just about in time. So
the joys of April, as I like to say it. Yeah. I've actually got a tan because I was on holiday last week, and then today the weather's crap. So I sat in front of a lake, did a bit of fishing and stuff like that. Got a bit of a tan. And then today the weather's horrible.
Well, at least it was nice when you were away and not. Where did you go?
Well, I didn't go anywhere.
Oh, perfect.
I just stayed at home. I've got children. I can't afford to go anywhere during school holidays, Oliver. Do you know what I mean? I take them on days out. Usually cheap ones. Fishing's a cheap one, especially for the boy. But it was quite nice. It was quite nice. All right. Well, listen. Thank you for joining us, Oliver. Really appreciate it. I always like to start with a very simple question. Tell us how you got into facilities management.
So I'm probably a slightly different one. Most of the people come on most podcasts and say, I fell into it, I didn't know anything about it. I made an active choice to get into the industry.
Because you're actually a fellow salesperson, aren't you?
I am, yeah. So my background's recruitment. So went to university, graduated, got actually a very short gig for a large pharmaceutical firm who were launching a new drug, and they literally needed basically a dog's body, effectively, in their HR team to set up interviews, book meeting rooms, and make sure because they had a new drug launch and they needed to recruit goodness knows how many people. So the TA team were doing the actual work and the hiring managers, but I was just coordinating and getting CVs from recruiters and all that sort of stuff.
Right, okay, yeah.
Did that, really enjoyed it, and thought, actually, this might be something that I want to do. Had no idea what I wanted to do.
What did you study in university?
History. So you'll be a big fan.
I am a big fan of history.
So I did a history degree at university, basically because I wanted to go to university, and I was quite good at history at school.
So you just wanted to have a laugh, basically.
Yeah.
A few letters after the name, have a good time.
Yeah.
Learn a little bit about history. Yeah. Good stuff.
Humanities degrees are fantastic for that as well, because contact hours are sort of 10 to 12 hours a week. So
really?
Yeah, you don't do a lot of reading around it, but actually lectures and on site is quite limited. So you can kind of, plan your day. And my first year I was finished by lunchtime on Wednesday. So the rest of the week was basically a write-off, as you can imagine. So graduated, as I said, got that job, decided that's what I wanted to do, and went hunting for graduate schemes. Eden Brown at the time was the group that owned them, ran a graduate scheme. We were effectively the guinea pigs. It was the first proper one that they'd run with structured across all the groups. The different brands had run it, but group one, there was 13 of us, got placed into a business. I was at EB recruiting engineers. That was purely by chance. Got in there, did engineers, did all those sort of stuff, did that for a little bit, moved up, did supervisors, contracts managers, and then started getting into like broader FM pieces. And that's where I kind of actually started to understand where what I did fitted in and what people did. Did a little bit of time there, moved to Australia, set up a facilities management desk for a business called CGC Recruitment, who didn't do FM at the time. Did that for 3 and a bit, 4 years. We came home March 2020, so very much pandemic induced.
Oh wow!
We were on the sort of the last one of the last flights out, as it were.
Really?
Yeah.
So you saw what was coming then, and you were like, we better get back.
The UK had already locked down when we've flown. Australia hadn't yet, still quite relaxed. But the major airlines, as the borders were shut in, Australia had closed its borders but wasn't locking down.
Right.
Major airlines started saying we're not flying, and my partner and I, we honestly, it was like Wednesday night. We said, right, we're either going to go or we're not.
Yeah.
Made a decision to go. Handed my notice in on the Thursday, and we were on the fly on the following Saturday.
Wow.
Quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Wouldn't recommend packing 4 years of your life up in just over a week.
No.
Did it. Came back. Started looking for jobs, and I was an okay recruiter, but I wasn't a great recruiter. I really enjoyed the facilities management sector, which I recruited for. I really enjoyed the people that I worked with, getting to understand the workplaces that they created, what that meant for the teams, how they created great places for people to work. Yeah. And I kind of worked out the bit that I liked the most was probably the facilities piece rather than the recruitment piece.
Right, okay.
Signed up for an IWFM course, so did that in pandemic, in lockdown, whilst doing some temp stuff. Completed that course, got my certificate, applied to loads of jobs. Imperial gave me a chance. They needed somebody for 6 months just to. Basically, they had someone that was had to be fully remote. And they needed somebody on site for this new building that was opening. And I was
so that's the Imperial College Business School?
In the business school, yeah.
That's not a bad gig to start off.
Do you know what? It's not a bad gig to start off with, no. Yeah. It's a lovely place to work. Brand new building. Yeah. So I was basically just, if there was any issues as we were doing the last of the fit-outs, the snagging, going through that, I was just escorting contractors around. I was there to be there. If there was an issue, it would come to me. I would escalate that into the team. Bulk of the team was based at South Kensington, at the main university. I was in West London on the new campus that they're building and still building. But there was a new business school space in a co-working space, like where we are today, actually. There was a co-working space, and the business school, to underpin the whole development on that plot of land, had committed to half a floor. Right. And the point was, students could come out, there's businesses opposite there. Businesses have got, best talent in the world, Imperial, studying their master's programs and their MBAs and all that at the business school. Yeah. And I was just there to, not quite just open the door, but that was what I was there for. Stationery, all your little small bits and pieces.
Did you learn quite a bit then?
Oh, heaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did learn a lot.
Did it kind of fast track you? Because I'm guessing that was quite complex. Do you think it gave you a fast track into the industry? Or?
I think what it did is all the stuff I'd been learning and all the things I'd known from talking to people gave me some practical, actual. I've had the theory from my course, I had the examples when I used to recruit, and there was actually me doing it, and I was able to see, yes, my role was just to escort the contractors, but I was obviously in all the email chains, I was in all the follow-up, so I could see where we went, what that looked like, what the escalation points were. So, sorry to interrupt, but going back to the course that you did via IWFM, what was that course? So level 3... Is it a diploma or a certificate or something like that in facilities management?
And how long did you have to have specific qualifications to get on that?
No.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So the course is, the level 3 is effective. There is a level 1 and 2, but level 3 is effectively your entry level facilities management course. Anybody that's got an educational background, anyone that's done higher education or tertiary education into the workforce, it's an overview, it's a good baseline study. I think it's equivalent to an A-level or something like that.
Right, okay.
Don't quote me on that, but it's that sort of level.
How long did that take you, out of interest?
So because it's designed to be studied alongside working, but because I wasn't working, I was doing I actually did COVID testing, funnily enough, but I was doing temp stuff. So I did 3/4 of the course in about 6 months. Right, okay. And then when I started at Imperial and I was actually working, I got to the last little bit, and then I sort of finished that course whilst it then took me 6 months to do the last 20% because I was back working.
So how long would it ordinarily take?
So you get 2 years to do it. There are training providers that will do not the diploma, they'll do the certificate, which is slightly fewer modules. They'll do that in like 2 weeks of solid classroom learning, but that's Monday to Friday. It's like going back to school sort of thing. So it depends how you want to study it. But most people, and one of my colleagues in my team at the moment is actually doing the level 3, and he's set himself 18 months to do it. And, you know, it's like anything. An individual module, if you sat down on a Saturday, you could do all the reading and all the booklet stuff, and then on Sunday you could probably write most of the answers, submit a first draft or proofread it, get it back and then tidy it up the next weekend. But obviously life gets in the way and all those sort of things. And when I say a solid weekend, I do mean, you know, like 6-8 hours on a Saturday just getting through it. I couldn't tell you how many exact hours. It's not all encompassing. You can definitely do it alongside studying. But it is a substantial qualification. It's not a 20-minute video on a thing.
Would you recommend that as a route into facilities management for people that are thinking about it then? So
absolutely. I'm a big fan of education in general. So I'm always trying, again, balancing short courses. I've got another one I'm doing at the moment. Do I think it will get you a job? Maybe not. Would it probably get you through a screening HR process to get you in front of somebody to prove to them that you could do the job? Yes, absolutely. I think it would. Would it give anybody who's kind of in a frontline role where they're like, oh, I quite like this, I don't really know where we're coming from, I don't know what's next, I don't know where I want to go, will it give you a framework to take you past your, right, my job is floor walking, or I do this, or I'm front of house, or I run the cafe? Will it give you an appreciation of what the M&E team are doing? Will it give you an understanding of basic contracts management? Will it give you a framework for what your KPIs and your SLA should look like, and the different types of contractual structures that you might operate within? Yes, absolutely. And I think, so if someone's got a little bit of experience, they're in a lot of places call them like workplace specialist or ambassador roles. Someone's in that sort of role. Absolutely.
But I think that's really interesting how you identified a route that you thought to yourself when you came back, I want to go work in FM. I've had some exposure to it, but then you put yourself on a pathway to gain a qualification to get you in front of people. So I think there's an element of bravery associated with that, because I think, I mean, you'll know this being an ex-recruiter, but people get pigeonholed, don't they?
Absolutely.
So once you're in one sector or one thing, sometimes it can be very difficult to break into another one.
No, it can be, and I think if you look at, again, some caveats to this, but because I did recruit, I kind of had a little bit of an advantage in the sense of I knew where I would have the most luck. So I a lot of my applications were to places like universities, were to places like. I did lots. I interviewed at the law court, the Supreme Court. Beautiful building. Didn't get it. But for those entry level roles, because I knew that they had requirement frameworks that would go through an internal TA team that wouldn't necessarily know the full scope, and they would see those key things like, oh, there's an IWFM qualification. He's signed up. He's a member of that institution as well, because I did that as well. And that, if that's enough to move me to an initial telephone screening, and then get you, and then I knew, relatively I'd be confident enough that I could get, once I was talking to somebody, I could demonstrate that I could do the job, then they would feel comfortable to put me in front of the hiring manager, knowing that I might not be perfect for the job. And I was never perfect. Those first jobs, I was never perfect for them. I didn't really have any experience. But what they wanted, and most of those entry level roles, are about communication, they're about coordination, they're about, it's dealing with queries and problems and those sort of stuff. It's not a million miles away from what I was doing when I was recruiting. No. So I knew that I could sell those skills. What's the word? The skills. That I could transferable skills. But I knew that I needed something to get me to that point, and that was kind of the play.
I think it's really interesting because I mean, since then, you've kind of risen through the ranks quite quickly as well. From an FM perspective, obviously being a senior facilities manager now, we're in 2024. So, considering you started your career in FM in 2020, that's it's obviously done you. It was a good grounding, I suppose. It was a really good grounding for you.
And look, I was really fortunate that I was kind of trusted to be there and trusted to do those things. Because because it was contract, I continued applying. The role with macro or mace operators we were at the time popped up. I just sent off a CV. Didn't think too much. I did write a cover letter, but didn't think too much of it. 2 or 3 weeks passed actually, and then I got a phone call from the internal recruiter, and she just said, "Oh look, just going through this. We like your experience, all those sort of bits and pieces. What do you do now?" I explained what I did, and she said, "This is what the job is." And I said, "Nothing there that I can't do."
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
And she said, "Brilliant," and she put me in front of who would have been my boss at the time, who's basically the job that I do now.
Yeah.
Put me in front of them at the time, and we had a really, really good conversation. He liked me.
Yeah.
Put me in front of his boss, who spoke to me for about 10 minutes because he was like, "Look, if so-and-so likes you, I'm happy with that." And they said, "But we do want you to meet the client."
Yeah.
I was like, "No worries." Did some research, did some Googling on the client.
Yeah.
Had a look and spoke to the client. And the entire meeting with the client was about my LinkedIn stuff. Because I was posting quite extensively at LinkedIn at the time, and I've dropped off a little bit now, but posting things all the time. And he said, "Oh, you've certainly got an opinion." And I laughed, and he said, "No, I want people that have got opinions. Like, I might not agree with everything that you say, but I do like that you clearly care about this." Yeah. And I'd been posting for a long time because of the recruitment stuff. So he was like, for somebody in an entry-level position, I wouldn't expect half of this. Like, involvement and engagement and the stuff that you do and the stuff that you say. So he was like more than happy. Right. Okay. And the clients at Colt were huge in my initial starting point. We went in and it was middle of COVID. The offices were basically shut, but you could come in. Yeah. If you needed to for various reasons. We had quite a slim team because basically in 2020, if anybody left, they weren't replaced. So they didn't make any redundancies. They kept hold of everybody. They paid everybody 100% the whole way through, including our cafe, which was shut for 18 months. Everybody paid 100%, topped it up. That's amazing, honestly amazing. Yeah, fair play. All the cleaning team, everybody. But basically, if somebody left, they didn't get replaced. Yeah. And so 2021, middle of, we're gearing up again. There's myself as the facilities coordinator, but there's no floor walkers. We've got reception, the cafe team are coming back, and then my boss at the time who did the job that I do now, and that was it. Yeah. And my team now is slightly bigger. I've got resources, we've got teams, portfolio slightly different than what we're delivering. So it was manic. I was running around all the time, literally moving furniture. I did all that sort of stuff, but also raising all the POs, doing all the finance stuff, receipting all the invoices, because there wasn't enough people. My boss had to be the approver, so he couldn't raise POs. So I had to do all the stuff, raise the PO, present all that. I learned so much in that first year. I bet. And I was supported by the clients, and they knew that we were running a slim team because they'd requested we didn't replace people when they left. And they said, we're still running. So all of 2021, most of 2022, it was only really 2023 when we started to rebuild that team, when they were like, right, we know what our occupancy looks like, we know what we're doing. The first 18 months that I was there was really busy, really, really, really busy. And there were moments where I went, what have I done? What have I done? But that gave me the skill set, in the eyes of the client, in the eyes of the account director, in the eyes of actually the wider macro business, as it turned out that, that work was recognised. My boss, probably about, early 2022, moved on to something new. It was 2 or 3 steps up, really. Really? But because there was no middle ground, there was no FM. He was the job that I do now. And they basically said, right, look, we'll make you the facilities manager for the UK and Ireland. And the European ops manager said, I'll run the escalation points for Northern Europe for you. In the interim. And so I did that for about 6 months, get my head around my scope and my responsibilities, recruit underneath me to replace me. And we had gotten a facilities assistant, but I was able to bring in a AFM effectively to sit under me, get them up to speed, build that team. And then when that was settled, they said, right, I'm going to handle the reporting for Hub 2, as it was at the time, over to you to step up. So they staggered that step up for me.
So they supported you in that.
100%.
Yeah,
and the client was, both the clients at the time were like, yeah, that's absolutely the right move.
Yeah.
They supported me in doing that. Again, and I got up to speed and learned how to do that thing. And the hardest thing in that is when, within the space of 18 months, going from literally running every little, restocking stationery cupboards and, taking, teas and coffees around and all that sort of stuff, to then managing it, is stepping away.
Yeah.
Because I found it really hard.
Yeah, moving away from that responsibility. Yeah.
And it's only probably, again, in the last 6 months that I've been able to do that. And that's taken time, and that's taken support. And it has taken my line manager to say, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah. So you've effectively had to learn to delegate.
Yeah.
In reality.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a core skill in management, isn't it? That ability to hands off and go, right, I trust this individual to do X, to do Y.
And I have an excellent team at the moment.
Yeah.
And the person that does my, sort of what was my job as the UK FM, is excellent.
Okay.
He's way better at it than I ever was.
Right, okay.
He is. He's really, really good. Which allows me to do the stuff that I'm meant to be doing. It allows me to engage with our partners. It allows me to look at our strategy. It allows me to manage up again, then into the cult business and say, right, what is it we're doing? I know the operations is running, business as usual is fine. What is it we want to do? Where do we want to go? What are we doing? Are we downsizing this office? Are we taking this? And it's not our contractual scope to do that. There's a real estate team that does that, but it is absolutely in our scope to deliver those downsizes, or if we're closing this place, or to do all that transition. We closed one of our offices in Ireland and moved it all into the same place. We're doing similar things. Barcelona right now, that isn't in my responsibility, but we're doing that. I've got projects in Frankfurt and Belgium coming up, and that stuff, because I've got a team that can deliver BAU, means that we can be ahead of that, and we're having conversations about stuff that's happening at the end of the year. Whereas when I first got there, on Friday it'd be like, oh, by the way, on Monday can we go and get some quotes to do this? And you're God, like, we'll try, sort of thing.
So do you operate in a specific sector, Oliver, within FM, or do you look after?
So I like big shiny buildings. If I'm honest, I don't think I could ever do residential.
No. So predominantly commercial then?
It's all commercial. It's critical environments. So we've got. So we don't have the data centres anymore, but we used to look after. So we look after Colt's corporate office portfolio.
Right.
But Colt is a telecoms and a data centre business.
Yeah.
So on the what they call nodes, but it's basically the big telecoms interchanges where all the fibre comes in. So the great big fibre comes in, and they spit it out to all their customers.
Right. Okay.
We look after those, so we clean them. We do maintenance to non-critical areas.
Right.
All your, if they've got front of house cleaning, we do security system maintenance. Yeah. It's the full gambit.
Yeah, of course.
The only thing we don't do, if it's a critical infrastructure that could affect customers, that isn't in our scope. There is a critical engineering team that do that. But everything else. It's workplace and facilities management. Colt own most of their assets that they occupy.
Right, okay.
And if we don't own it, it's full lease and repair tenancies. So we do with landlord and tenant side services, if you want to call it that. We'll deliver an office fit out at the same time I've got people on the roof doing gutter cleans or repairing horizontal line systems and all that sort of stuff.
So you fit a lot into a very short period of time, effectively, Oliver.
Yeah, we do quite a bit, but then I've got an excellent team and I've got a fantastic supply chain, and our job is to ensure that the subject matter experts are doing what they say that they're doing, basically. So we have an outsourced cafe team head office who are incredible. We've got a really, really good cleaning provider who are excellent and have got people that have been there for a very long time, and I've got there's cleaners that in loads of places would be supervisors or regional area supervisors and things like that, but
a good standard,
they know what they're doing. There's times I pick up the phone to the cleaners and say, what is it? What have you always done, particularly at the nodes where I don't go that often? I call them up, so can you do me a favour, when you next go into ABC, and they go, probably next week, can you just have a look at this, this and this for me, check the first aid box, do all that sort of stuff, and they go, no worries. And they'll come back and they'll go, everything's in date, we need to order some plasters or whatever. Brilliant. Right, and I'll just go, can you do me a favour, can you guys just order them and restock them?
Plasters. Yeah.
And we're lucky, we've been there a long time.
Yeah.
I'd say we collectively, Macro's been on that contract 2013.
Wow. Right.
I've got people in my team, particularly across Europe, who were Colties before they tupied over to us. Right. So next month I'm off to the Netherlands to celebrate 25 years with one of our front of house staff.
Oh wow.
I've got there's a lady we've got in Italy, not under my scope, but she did 25 years last year.
Yeah.
My FM in Belgium, she's approaching 20 years. We've got some really fantastic people.
It does make life easier though when you've got that long-standing team and you've got that knowledge across the sites to help in the delivery of the services.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody looking to, start a career in facilities management?
Just give it a go. The entry-level roles, most of it can be taught.
Yeah.
All the FAs that we've hired, I'd say all, it's not been that many, none of them had facilities experience, but you can teach it. As long as you can hold particularly at that entry level, as long as you can hold a conversation with somebody and you're prepared to ask questions, and if you don't understand, you go, hey, can you help me out?
Yeah.
The rest of it, we can fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And that was the same for me. I didn't know anything. I didn't have any health and safety qualifications. I didn't know any of the stuff. But I just said, look, can you talk to people, and are you willing to, take people around and help them when they've got a problem? Yes.
Yeah. Have you gone and got health and safety qualifications then?
Yes, I've got my IOSH now.
Yeah.
I'm not doing my NEBOSH this year, but that's mainly because I'm doing another course at the moment, and then there's something else that I want to do. And
it's a big commitment as well, NEBOSH.
It is a really big commitment.
There's a lot of time associated with it, so
it's a huge
you've got to have that time to be able to do it.
So I've got our IOSH, and Macro's huge on that. So pretty much anybody from assistant facilities manager upwards will go on an IOSH. Basically from the moment you've passed your probation, it'll be like, right, have you got IOSH? No, okay, we'll put you on the course. Right, okay. And there's central Macro funding for that. Yeah. You may have just seen, we've just got ROSPA Gold for the second year in a row, specifically for the cult account. So Macro's got the President Award last year, and for the first time we decided to submit as an account. Right. So we submitted an entry. So Macro did their entry, and last year we did an entry as just cult. So just our stuff, nothing else. Obviously central support, systems and processes. So we got first time we ever entered, we got gold. We resubmitted again this year. We've got gold, and the plan for us is to, providing the client keeps us there and wants us there, and we keep extending. The plan for us is to get the President's Award for the cult account.
Right. Okay. Exciting times ahead then.
Yeah. In terms of just general advice, you will never know everything. There are loads of people around you who will probably know the answer. Just put your hand up and get stuck in. And there is so many people in this industry who are in exceedingly senior positions doing amazing things, who started in the post room at PwC or, were a cafe barista or whatever it might be. My FM, who I said is brilliant, his background is hotel management, hospitality. His first corporate gig was working for a food beverage company as like a cafe manager. Macro, funnily enough, for one of our other accounts, gave him an opportunity to do to run the front of house, to run that soft services piece. And he did that for a little bit, and then he moved over to our account to become an FM. So he's learned all the M&E stuff really in the last 12 months or so. And he's, he's not an expert in he doesn't, he can't tell you how a chiller functions or any of that. But he doesn't need to.
No, well, you're a jack of all trades, aren't you? Yeah. In the world of FM.
Definitely that's a master of nothing.
But I mean, to be fair, I think some people, there are people that kind of naturally lean towards M&E, and then there's other people that naturally lean towards soft services. There's more M&Es, I think, in the FM world than the soft services. I would say.
There is,
or at least based on my experience on this show.
No, I think so. I think if you look at the people, particularly if you're coming at it from a estates or a traditional facilities management background, they are, because for years it was someone stepping off of the tools, right?
Yeah.
But if you look on the teams that come from a workplace experience that have come from a corporate real estate background, they might not be, they'll have an appreciation of the M&E stuff, but they've come from a surveying or and a lot of them don't jump over, mainly because the CRE guys earn way more than we are, and then they're quite happy sitting in CBs and JLL and those sort of businesses, you know, having a workplace angle, but very much from a corporate real estate piece. But
so networking. Has networking been an important part of your career, and has it helped you? Because obviously I know that you touched on speaking to other people that operate in the industry. Yeah. Is it something you've done? Is it something that you think you may do in the future?
So when I was recruiting, there probably wasn't a week that didn't go by where I wasn't at an industry event of some description.
Yeah, of course.
It's the specific jobs that I've had, I don't think it helped me get them. So Imperial, it definitely didn't. None of those guys really I'd ever bumped into or dealt with any of them before.
It is more difficult in the public realm, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Because of the checks and balances and things like that, it's slightly different. Networking, I think, in the private sector, it can be more beneficial.
Yeah, I think so. I also think it's just about having an understanding of what's going on. So the association that I do most of my stuff is actually CoreNet, which is a corporate real estate, ostensibly a corporate real estate for occupiers network. But I think the stuff that they put on, because it isn't with their entire proposition, and most of those roles, most of those people either are from a real estate background or they lean that way. Yeah. And so what I'm getting there is an understanding of, I've got a client at Colt, I work for a service provider. I may one day go client side, may not. But I want to understand what is it they're doing, so I can talk to my client and I can talk to the real estate person at Colt and say, and actually have informed conversations with them about what their problems are and what they're trying to achieve. Yeah. Because yes, ultimately our job is the same as to deliver these workplaces for people. But my real estate, we've got just in Europe, and I can't even. There's 63 sites in Europe, right? Yeah. All with leases, all with agreements, all with different things. Lots of our sites, if we own them, we've got subtenants in, which don't really impact my day job that much, but are really crucial to their day job. So it's understanding what their challenges are. I mean, when they turn around and say, this is what we want to do, I understand how they've got to that point. Because sometimes on the surface, you look at it and go, I don't really see why that makes sense. Yeah. But because I understand broadly the challenges in the market, and I understand why they're looking at changing their space, and I also understand what they're being asked from the finance teams and the broader business of what is it you're doing, why are we doing it, I can kind of at least understand what I'm being asked. Yeah,
so you're putting yourself in a position where you can have a broad frame of knowledge with regards to facilities management across all facets. Yeah. And that's, for you, is proving to be quite beneficial in terms of your career and how you're moving forward and so on.
I hope so. I don't think there's a.
Well, you see, we're doing all right.
I don't think there's a one size fits all. I don't think there are. There's some really great facilities management people that are heavily involved in SIBSI, and they come really strongly from an engineering perspective, and they might do other networking events, but it's SIBSI's their focus. They might even be on the board, or they're on the and they come at they might go to the smaller ones. So. I like the small events. So this week in FM, Lawrence Allen and those guys and the events that they put on are incredible. The boat party, is a must for.
I know the boat party.
Yeah, the boat party is a must. But
is that the one via the Hill Club? Or is that a different one?
I think there might be a different one.
There's a few of them, isn't there?
There is, yeah. But Lawrence Allen's, this week in FM.
Yeah, Twin FM. I know this week in FM.
Yeah, so that.
Oh right, okay.
That boat party, yeah. And then.
Because that's usually the weekend of the facility show, isn't it? Am I right saying that?
May very well be, yes.
I believe it is.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they do some small networking events. And do you know Ian Purton?
No,
Okay,
doesn't ring a bell.
no, fine. So he organises an event. Funny enough, he lives down here, but he organises an event called FM North, and there was an FM North and an FM South, but they struggling with venues and whatnot. That is purely just, it's like no sales pitches, no nothing. It's just we're going for a drink.
Yeah.
There used to be a thing called the Doyle Club. Right. Don't know if you ever knew of that. And they used to meet. I'm going to get this wrong. I want to say Embankment.
Really?
And again, you weren't allowed to pitch. There's no sales. You could put a banner up. If you were going to put some money behind the bar, you could put a banner up. Yeah. But you couldn't stand up and give a half-hour presentation on how great you were. Yeah. You just couldn't.
Right. Okay.
I like going to those events. I try and go to a lot of the smaller ones as well. Yeah. So if there's like Andrew Holbert at Pareto FM organises a Tomorrow Meets Today event,
I know
and he's done them a few times. Right. And they're always good. The not the Young Managers Forum, goodness me. The Emerging Workplace Leaders. Yeah. That stuff's amazing. Those things are really, really good. Their awards, again, anyone forging a career, I would absolutely recommend you go to those events. I would recommend that you submit yourself. Yeah. You know, honestly, put your name forward and say, hey, I think I'm doing a really good job in... And it doesn't have to be purely facilities or workplace. You know, if you're running a cleaning contract, if you have got a front of house team that you manage, put your name in the hat and say, hey, these are the cool things we're doing.
Well, there you go, listeners. There's some great examples of opportunities to put yourself out there across the facilities management world. So from an ESG perspective, obviously it's the new health and safety, it's the new buzzword obviously around, you know, what we're doing in facilities management. What are your thoughts on that? How do you see it developing over time? And are you doing anything that's interesting from an initiative perspective that you want to talk about?
And I've heard you on this a couple of times, and I know you say we're pretty good on the ESG front. And
I think we're good at the E and we're good at the G. I don't think we're good at the S.
Yeah.
And I think we're all and actually we had that conversation on Ross's podcast. I do think we're very good at the E, and I think we're getting better at the E. The governance, we've always had that down.
Yeah, you're managing contracts.
Yeah,
it's impossible not to.
You know, whether you're a client side, you're an FM, you're a contractor, you have to have that down. Do you know what I mean? So most of us do. I think it's the S. In terms of, you know, how you go about it and things. And I mean, we're doing some interesting stuff, which we'll tell you about another time. But yeah, that's the one I think people we try to do. I just think how can I articulate this? We all seem to do quite generic stuff.
Yeah,
agree. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's how I view it.
I think that,
and I'm being critical of us as well. Yeah, with
I think the problem with that is because it's safe to do the generic stuff. Yes. And we know what we're going to get from the generic stuff. Yeah. And we know and then this goes back to the G part of what we're really good at. It goes back to our governance, because most of the time we're going to we're not doing this right. Some of it we do out of our own budgets. But the big stuff, we're going to our clients to say, can we have some money to do this, right? Or can we have some money to do that? And you kind of need to have some kind of use case or some kind of case study to show, hey, so and so does this.
In essence,
But look, not if you're spending small amounts, but we put in a farm wall at Colt House. We installed it, and within a month, the CEO posted, Colt CEO posted on her LinkedIn to say, where do you grow your office like food, basically, and did a whole thing about it. And went it out, it did really good, from what you can see externally, it did really good numbers, hundreds and hundreds of likes, loads of shares, loads of comments. And the fact that she'd seen that and gone, that's excellent, I love that. And, pats on the back all round in the workplace team, absolutely, as you would do. So that's something that we did, and we took it. But the reason I think that people don't push the boundaries is because they can't prove it. In many respects, and a lot of these impacts are not immediate on your team. No. And so, look, all of our staff are London Living Wage as a minimum, and we try as best as we can to lift everybody alongside that as well. Yeah. So all our cleaners our London Living Wage. The supervisors have an uptick.
Yeah.
In line with that, and then we then have now started, because of this year the increase was quite considerable. We've had to put front of house up because they basically, the provider came to us and said, look, I know we're still quite a bit above it, but we're not. Yeah. If you're indexing where we have this, and fine. And so we had those conversations, and we did those things, and we've looked at that across the business, right? Are we? Because what you don't want to do is forget about it, because it's all well and good saying this supplier, we have London Living Wage, right? But how are we indexing that to our other teams? And how about the people that we employ directly? Are our facilities assistants on enough money? Are our post-room people in where they should be?
But that's the challenge. You know, that is where the challenge sits, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because, you know, you need to keep that. Yeah, because you need to attract individuals to certain roles and things like that. So it is. I mean, from a budgetary perspective, incredibly challenging. Yeah. You know, as labour costs go up. But I have a really good idea in terms of the S. Do you know what I mean? If you think about us as a sector, as a community, you know, what's the best way that we could be most impactful from a social perspective? Where could we do the most good, I suppose? Yeah. So if we looked at like homelessness, for example, and let's say that, you know, we create a community of facilities management providers, contractors, clients, and things like that, and we all paid into this pot on an annual basis, and each year there was a council, for example, and each year that council decided what area our community, our sector was going to try and help, whether that was housing the homeless or doing any number of things. Because unfortunately money makes the world go round. Do you know what I mean? We all know that. That's the way it is. You know, that's a very big pot. Yeah, that could do an awful lot of good. Whereas we all kind of compete with each other. But I understand that as well, because we do, because you want to be different, and it's a differentiator. I think things like that.
Again, there's a really excellent business called they started as called Radical Recruiting and now called Be Radical, and they're really big. So they talk about, if you look at like care leavers or people leaving prison and things like that, what the default advice for prison leavers is like, get a job in a kitchen, or get a cleaning job or something like that. And it's like, well, how do we broaden our, and this is businesses, this is a whole host of people really, to say, how do we broaden what we do? How do we broaden our recruitment practices to encourage people? Because as I've just said, our entry-level jobs, and that doesn't have to be completely entry-level. It can be basic facilities coordinator, facilities assistant, all that. Don't need a massive grounding. You need some commercial sense. You need a little bit of acumen, but most people could do that. It's how do you expand that and actually, because I completely think that the idea is fantastic, but
not workable. I know.
No, I don't think it's not work. No, I don't think that at all. Because then we get back to doing the same things all the time. But realistically, and I don't want this to make me sound all sort of like don't help people thing. But if you can provide somebody with a job and a career and a foundation, that's way more powerful than nearly anything else that you could do.
You give them the skills and capabilities to
support themselves and stand on their own feet. Because, like, you know, if we look at, I mean, like London as well, London is not a cheap place to live. It's not an affordable city.
No.
It's not an affordable city for, like, most people. And I'm really conscious. So we do, so, you know, we're quite big on our supply chain and who we procure from. And we've got, and this is a tiny thing, and I don't really know what kind of impact it has, but I think it does have a positive impact. We buy our tea bags from and obviously they don't grow the tea in Hackney, but they produce the tea bags in the thing and package it all up in Hackney. So in the borough that we're in, we buy that. And that business, it is also a B Corp, like yourselves. It's not just a B Corp, it is technically a social enterprise. They employ refugees, they employ people who have traditional barriers to access in the employment market. And that's where we buy our tea bags from.
That's good.
Are they a little bit more expensive? Yeah. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of what we spend? No. I'd
agree.
You know, Twinings were, I don't know, 29p a bag or whatever, and we spend 32 or something like that. It's really minimal. They're price competitive with what you would class as your higher tier.
Yeah, of course.
Sort of, they're not as cheap as 1,100 bags of PG tips, right? They're not, but
or Yorkshire tea, mate.
Or Yorkshire tea. Or Yorkshire
don't forget about the Yorkshire tea.
Oh, so you wouldn't believe. We buy different tea bags for different sites because we moved everybody to Yorkshire, and then somebody came back and went, I don't like Yorkshire tea.
No way. Who said that?
I know. I'll send it your way. Yeah. And so we moved them back to PG tips, and we've now gone back to PG tips because they're biodegradable. And Yorkshire tea, you can't buy the big 1,100 that you can put in the food waste bin. So
don't worry, I'll have a word.
I'll have a word. Yeah,
I'll have a word. Sort it out.
And I know that's small, but we repeat that across all of our business lines if we can. Yeah. So if we dispose of furniture, we have 2 providers on the books. One's called Collect Eco and one's called Waste to Wonder. Most people have probably come across one or both of those. Yeah. Collect Eco are very UK focused, so they don't send anything anywhere. They'll collect everything. If they can't donate it, so it goes to hospices and primary schools and care homes and all those sort of things. Right. They'll donate it. If they can't, they break it down, they recycle it. We get waste transfer notes. We get all those bits and pieces.
Oh, brilliant.
Waste to Wonder will take slightly more stuff, but they box it all up, fill up great big massive shipping containers and send them overseas.
Right.
To, I don't know, places like Sierra Leone or wherever. And then they give you a report and they say, this is the community centre that we've built. This is your furniture. Yeah. This is the difference that you made.
Yeah.
It costs about the same as disposing of it.
That's a great
the other way. Yeah,
I like that. I like those initiatives. I think they're really good. So anyway, Oliver, tell us a little bit about, we're coming to the end of the podcast, so tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you like to do outside of work? If you ever get outside of work.
I do. No, do you know what? We do. And there's a big good culture at Macro. And, my boss and his boss and the client as well will tell us to go home. You know, there's not a, there is very much a, it can wait till tomorrow. Yeah. Obviously, we talked about my history degree earlier. I do have an interest in history. I'm not one of those that sort of, I'm not binge watching the History Channel or something like that, but I do. If there's a good documentary or something like that, I'll definitely watch that.
I know, I'm the same.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people. I don't forget anything. I'm like literally I love history as well. Yeah. I love history.
I like pretty much every sport. Yeah. I'm pretty hopeless at all of them. Yeah. I used to play a little bit of five-a-side with my friend and football and things like that, but I've stopped playing pretty much anything now. Cricket, bat 8, don't bowl. But I watch heaps of sport, love it. All those sort of things. And my partner always says, she says, like, if Professional Tiddlywinks was on the television, you'd probably watch it. Yeah, I would.
You would?
I probably would. Yeah, if it was competitive enough, and they built a thing around it. Yeah.
Who's your football team?
I'm a Chelsea fan.
Really, another one?
Yeah, another one. Yeah.
No.
Chelsea. I didn't really get a choice. Dad's a Chelsea fan. On my nan's side, all my family are sort of originally Chelsea docs that way. So there's a whole.
My son didn't get a choice either. He's Man U and that's it. You know what I mean? You ain't beating anything else.
Yeah.
You get kicked out. Not having any of this Man City rubbish. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, actually, my partner's kids are a while away yet, but she's Welsh, and she's like, you can have the football, but the rugby, they're going to be Wales fans in the Six Nations. And I'm a bit like, I don't know.
I don't know. That's risky. Yeah. That's risky. That's going to depend where they live. You know.
I know. Yeah, but that's making me dig stakes into London. She's like, for the price of our masonette, we could get like a 4-bed house in Cardiff. You know this, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, but then they're going to be Wales fans, aren't they?
You need to get them to Twickenham early. Do you know what I mean? That's what you need to do. Get
Scoop
them
there
early. And just tell them. She says, where they're going? Oh, nowhere.
Yeah, nowhere. I'm just off to see the grandparents.
St George's on their cheeks and England song. It wasn't me they asked for. Okay, well, listen, Oliver, absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much. Obviously, you knew a great deal about networking. I'm sure you wouldn't mind if anybody reached out to you on LinkedIn.
No, absolutely.
To ask for your advice in that area and also about learning and development and how that's helped your career. thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you.
Absolute pleasure, and good luck with my ramblings. Thanks very much.
It's been an absolute pleasure. All right, guys, that's the end of another episode. Obviously, incredibly interesting guy, Oliver. He's had a terrific ascent in the FM world, so feel free to reach out to him if you have any advice. But that's the end of another show. Take care. Bye bye.